Just before we get into Teisho, just to give everybody an update on our fast-moving COVID situation. Our head cook, Martin, has developed a cough, and it's not getting any better. He's tested negative, but he feels that it's not really tenable for him to continue. The cough could be disturbing to people in the zendo and also pretty disturbing to him. There's nothing quite so hard as trying to suppress a cough that wants to come out. And so he's really, for the sake of everyone else, decided that he's going to go home and write out whatever it is, probably some other kind of virus that he's got, but we don't know that at the moment. So we're handing over the reins of the kitchen to Charlie and closing ranks again. So everybody's been very responsive, filling in the gaps where they are, continuing to help Sesshin run, and everybody's been very sensible also in the zendo in terms of just carrying on, doing what we can, in spite of the changes in conditions. This is good training for us all, training in dealing with uncertainty, dealing with unexpected change. This is the nature of our existence. This is what we have to deal with again and again and again. But if we are working on the principles of what is best for everyone, what serves the Buddha Dharma and serves the Sangha, then we can't really go wrong. There isn't really a right and wrong. We just do what we can with and for each other. So today for Teisho, 10th of September 2024, this is the day 4 of our spring 7-day Sesshin. We're going to take up where we left off, reading from Subtle Sound, the Zen teachings of Maureen Stewart, edited by Roko Sherry Chayat, who is herself a Zen teacher, a Roshi. Going to the chapter that we started on day 1, called Sesshin Mind, Universal Mind. Started with the paragraph we finished off last time. When we first start Sesshin, we may be very annoyed by something or by somebody's particular way of being. As the days go on, these likes and dislikes melt down, and by the end of 5 or 7 days, there is no more of that judgmental attitude, or we'd probably say more fairly, very attenuated. We have made a deep connection, which has nothing to do with is it good, is it bad, do I like it, don't I like it. It goes on far beyond that. This is what we taste together here in Sesshin. We get rid of the self-centered mind, the competitive mind, the proud mind, the gaining and losing mind, and we let go all of it. During these days, we become really aware of how much we are not being true to ourselves, of what we are carrying around with us, how much universal stuff, how much unessential stuff that we are holding on to so tightly. this practice of fearlessly being who we are, precisely the person we naturally are, with no affectation, no pretension, requires a lot of integrity and a lot of humility. If we are true to ourselves in the depths of our being, then we can be true to all other beings. I think of that those lines from Hamlet. To thine own self be true, and then thou canst not be false to any man. And this being true to ourselves, as Maureen Stewart points out, has everything to do with letting go of what is unnecessary, false, pain-producing, and really letting go is right at the heart of what Sesshin is all about. I think I may have quoted this in the last Teisho, what Uchiyama Roshi says, gaining is delusion, losing is enlightenment. Without any self-conscious effort, we just respond spontaneously to what needs to be done. Every time we think we have achieved something, or that we have understood something, or that we know what it all means, we just throw it away. This could very easily be applied to us and our Sesshin this time, with so many changes. Just keep on throwing it all away. Responding to the moment. During this time together, we are constantly paring down, continually letting go of these opinions, these fixed thoughts for and against. And we are committing ourselves to listening, to accepting whatever comes along, rather than closing up or defending ourselves against it. We are participating in a Sesshin bath, giving up, letting go, feeling the clarity of what is purifying our minds. You can say when we go home to our families and friends, we just had a 7-day Sesshin bath. There's a saying which is appropriate here, that Zen is like soap. First you wash with it, then you wash it off. Even Zen has to go. Even this Dharma jewel of a practice, or just gets in the way if we cling to it. Another analogy that like gold dust, something can be of great value, but if you get that gold dust in your eyes, it blinds you. The other image that dates right back to beginnings of classical Buddhism is the Dharma as a raft to help ferry us to the other shore. But once we get to the other shore, we don't carry that raft around with us. Every day we chant the Heart Sutra, which is in Sanskrit called the Mahaprajna Paramita Sutra. Actually, it's one piece of a whole bunch of sutras with the same name. In Japanese, this is Hanya Shingyo. Hanya Shingyo. This is where Hanya's name comes from, actually. This Heart Sutra is the heart of the matter. the eternal sacred deed, the endless practice. This is the gyo that we do. Gyo, this last word in the Japanese, means sutra. So she's saying here that we do this endless practice as a kind of sutra, and that it's an active thing rather than a static one. The word gyo, don't know the Japanese etymology of it, but if you put it into the Sanskrit sutra, it's related to the word for thread, which is in turn related to the word suture, how a wound is stitched up with sutures, thread. So we're threading this truth through our lives. She calls it a sacred deed and an endless practice. Maha, she continues, means great, all-inclusive, nothing left out. And prajna is intuitive wisdom, or sometimes we say transcendent wisdom, wisdom that does in fact ferry us over to the other shore of enlightenment. Prajna is intuitive wisdom. Everything is sensed with our intuitive wisdom, not just thought out in our heads. Gone, gone, gone to the other shore is paramita. This is the final gata of the Heart Sutra. Gate, gate, para, gate, parasamgate, bodhi, svaha, which we usually translate as gone, gone, gone beyond, completely beyond, awake with Joyce. Gone, gone, gone to the other shore. This is paramita. What does that mean? Not going to some other place, but finding nirvana in this very place, having a change of heart, seeing things from a cleared up, fresh perspective. This is the fundamental teaching of the Mahayana. Is that samsara is nirvana, seen with the mind of wisdom. We don't have to go anywhere. We just have to pay attention to right here. And then sooner or later we'll see that nirvana is this very place. This earth where we stand is the pure lotus land, and this very body, the body of Buddha. So this is our job in Sesshin, is to see things as much as possible directly, or as she puts it here, from a cleared up, fresh perspective. She continues, what is the way, with a capital W? The real way is not difficult. Sozan, Joshu, Nansen, Dogen, Rinzai all say the same thing in different words. The real way is not difficult if we avoid choice and attachment, if we don't try to hold on to things or fix things into some pattern of our own choosing. Many of you may have heard in this the reference to the opening lines of Affirming Faith and Mind. The great way is not difficult for those who do not pick and choose. This ancient Zen text by our third ancestor. When Sensei was talking about verses from the center, Stephen Batchelor, the translator and commentator on that, used the words fixations for our what causes our suffering. wanting our next fix, our addictions, the things we cling to and imagine that we have to have in order to be happy. More than just attachment there, there's the clinging. Sesshin is an exercise in non-clinging. So many things are decided for us when we do sitting, when we do walking, when we eat meals, where we sleep. Naturally, that we react to all of that at times. But if we can just drop those things we think are indispensable, then we can find a lot of freedom. We can find peace of mind. She says we're all seeking true peace of mind, but there are no sidetracks, no quick exits, no solutions from the outside. We cannot sit on the cushion and blame our problems on other people or on society. We have to take full responsibility sitting here. There is no elsewhere. In so many koans, monks come to the teachers and ask about the way. What is the way? Shall I search after it? Shall I work hard to get it? Then will I grasp it? If we try to grasp it, we lose it. If we try to say what it is gone. Our need for security binds us and causes us to seek some definition for what Zen is. What the students come asking, what is Zen? Or why did the Bodhidharma come from the West? But many forms are given to this basic question: what is truth? What is reality? What is the way? So we seek for definitions. We want to pin it down, pin our lives down. But this, she says, this mysterious, unspeakable, indefinable something that we are all experienced together here cannot be put into a mold. It can't be grasped. As it says in the Diamond Sutra, past mind is ungraspable, present mind is ungraspable, future mind is ungraspable. A professor once came to Nyogen Senzaki at one of his floating zendos, ready to write everything he could down about Zen. Now, a couple of explanations here. Nyogen Senzaki was a real pioneer of Zen in the West. He was sent to the United States by his teacher, Soen Shaku Roshi, who had been to the Parliament of World Religions I think in Chicago sometime at the end of the last century, the 19th century we're talking about. And Nyogen Senzaki was really, truly tasked with holding the lotus to the rock. People had no idea about Buddhism or Zen, and he wasn't really supported a lot of the time, so he took on jobs, different kinds of jobs. He'd save up a little bit of money, and then he'd hire a hall and give a talk on Buddhism, and then might be some time again before he was able to do that again. But that's how he lived, and he called these impermanent places that he set up floating zendos. So that's the background to this. But this one is a little bit more than a public hall, as you'll see. But here's what Senzaki tells this story about this professor who comes along already with his pen and paper out and full of questions and wanting to talk about Zen. So Senzaki took him into the zendo, and the man started talking, and he put his fingers to his lips and said, "Shh, we meditate in silence in here." Then he took the same professor into the kitchen, and the professor thought, "Oh good, now I can talk. Now let's see what they eat in this place." And then he began to talk about that, and Senzaki said, "Shh, we prepare food and eat in silence here." And even when they went into the library, the professor thought, "Oh, all these wonderful books, surely we can talk about Zen now." But Senzaki said, "Shh, we read in silence here." And then he showed them to the door. And the professor was still gasping, "What is Zen?" In fact, he'd been given some good demonstrations, but he couldn't see them. She goes on, "During Sesshin we are suspended in a place where the only thing to do is to get in touch with the teachings and with ourselves. That's all, very clearly to get in touch. Every day we chant the three refuges. I take refuge in Buddha. I take refuge in Dharma. I take refuge in Sangha. There is much talk these days of support systems. We have a wonderful support system. The Buddha, a human being who practiced faithfully and who came to understand the true nature of the universe and of himself, said to all of us, 'You can do this too.' All of us, no exceptions. The Dharma is the teaching of our everyday life experience right here. When the rain falls, the ground gets wet. Dogs have puppies, cats have kittens. The Sangha is our companionship, our being present for each other. And with our own richness of experience, we come little by little to feel true peace of mind, true contentment of spirit. Each of us is the only one who can know this is so. It's up to us. Descriptions of the truth are just the menu, they're not the meal. She continues, "Thanks to this practice, I feel I do have some peace of mind. After all, life and death, health and illness are one. The true face of this universe includes all things in it, good, bad, life, death, health, illness, all of it. There are many so-called healers in the world, but healers cannot bring us wholeness. Healers do not heal us. The healing was already there in the wholeness. And the real goal of healing is to help the person in need of healing to be aware of this. At the deepest level, the so-called sick person has no sickness, At this level, I am not sick. And there's a footnote here that this was just 1 year. She gave this talk just 1 year before she died. And she had already had at that point a diagnosis of metastasized cancer. What does she mean when she says that at the deepest level, the so-called sick person has no sickness? Stephen Levine, who wrote a fine book called Who is Dying, talks about sickness, of course, a lot in his book. And at one point he's talking about the dying process, and he says, people can die, but also heal at the same time. There can be a healing process that happens within the dying process. It's one of the ways in which somebody who's sick isn't sick. Or Master Shen talks about a woman in their Sangha who had cancer and who died. It was terminal cancer. But in the later stage of her life, she helped many other people who were suffering from cancer based on her own experience of the disease and the process. So in that case, you could probably say that she wasn't defeated by death. And death doesn't have to be a defeat. We can see it simply as the other side of life, which it is. Samuel Beckett wrote, we die, we are born astride the grave. There are quite a few koans which look into this whole nature of sickness. And one of the questions in one of them is asked is, who is the one who is not sick? So, returning to her talk, at the deepest level, the so-called sick person has no sickness. At this level, I am not sick. With deep gratitude to this practice, because of Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, because of all of you, because of all of this that we are engaged in together, because of this indefinable, mysteriously unspeakable, marvelous, whatever it is, I really do feel this no sickness. You cannot take my definition, my experience of it, as yours, of course. The only reason I tell you of my experience is in the hope that it may encourage you. It is your own life experience that confronts you all of the time. We can't run away from it. It's like our shadow that is always attached to us. It is your own life experience that confronts you all the time. Your heart doesn't beat because you think about it. Your breath is not breathing because you say breathe. The power beyond definition is making our hearts beat and making us breathe. This is the reality of our lives. When we just pay even a little bit of attention to this, we find out how extraordinary it is. Heart beats, we breathe in, breathe out. These things happen even when we're doing highly complicated things, when we're sleeping. What is doing it? So we know why we are here. We are here to get rid of confusion. Each of us must do it. The Buddha said, you must be a lamp unto yourself. May our lamps shine out unself-consciously, so that we may continue this wonderful practice for all beings. That's the end of the talk. We're going to continue drawing on our other text, which has material about Maureen Stewart in it, meetings with a remarkable women, on a part where the writer of the book, Lenore Friedman, asks questions which elicit some more from Maureen Stewart about direct experience. And this is now Lenore Friedman speaking before she gets a response from Maureen. We had been talking about practice, and I had found myself wanting to ask her about a deep level of doubt that sometimes arises in me. What if this is all a sham and delusion? What if it's all empty form? Or worse, what if I'm doing it that way? What if I'm fooling myself and everyone else? What if it's all going to fall apart and dissolve? And now, knowing that the answer to that, can I act from that place? And this is Maureen's response. You remember that the Buddha said, don't take my word for this. Don't take my word for this. Put no head above your own. Have your own experience. Think about what he went through. You know about all the doubts, all the delusions that came and flew around his head, just as with you and me. Everyone. No one is excluded from this, and shouldn't be. It's an important part of our experience. If you did not question, did not go down to the bottom and say, is this truly so? It would be very superficial. Very superficial. We must say, what is this? What is this? And say it with absolutely every pore of our being. What is this? This is the great doubt we talk about. It is to be answered with your whole being, not just with your intellect. And the more deeply you feel the doubt, according to some ancient texts, the greater the enlightenment. The more you the more you plumb the depths of this, the more you know. One balances the other, and to be honest is essential. To say, am I really doing this to the depths of my being, or am I just sitting here? To be honest with ourselves, to go further than we think is safe, to really question with the depths of our being, so that is where the answer comes from. Certainly not just sitting there. And then Lenore responds to this, how can I do this without a teacher, by myself? And Maureen, who had just signed her mu as a practice, says, mu after mu, after mu, after mu, with your whole being. This is not a technique, it is a way of life. And Lenore says, don't I have to test that, to ask, am I plumbing this? Is my mu? No. Don't ask that. Don't ask, do it. Do and see what happens. And this is really the spirit all the way through all Zen practices, such as not just our sitting, but our chanting, our prostrating, our bowing. Don't ask, do it. We learn, we find out about something by doing it. Do and see what happens, she says. And Lenore continues, but when doubt comes up about my capacity, and Maureen cuts in, it has nothing to do with your capacity, nothing at all. Your capacity is your capacity, and you use this capacity in all kinds of relative situations in your life. But this practice has to do with absolute reality, not relative reality. So it has nothing to do with whether you are good, bad, or indifferent. It is, in this respect, it has to do with plumbing the depths of this reality, Mu reality, God reality, Buddha nature reality. And that's in everybody, no matter what you can do physically, mentally, whatever it is. We can really take encouragement from this when those painful thoughts of inadequacy come up, that they really don't enter into the equation at all. So whatever you call it, whether God or Buddha nature or Mu, this is our birthright. It's in everybody, pure and unadorned, and we hang a lot of stuff on it. So, what is this? What is this? Why have I clouded it up so much? How do I uncloud it? By being absolutely honest, as you are doing, and saying, let me strip down to my bare bones and see what's there. There is something wonderful there when you strip down to bare bones. One young woman came to me with this dream. She said that she dreamed that I gave her a beautiful pair of shoes and a photograph album. The album had pictures of this girl, and in all of them she was naked. And Maureen comments, wonderful. Just shoes and naked. So it really is to not be afraid of our weaknesses, our delusions, our illusions, whatever they are. We all have them. But to have this ultimate bottom realization that there is something else there, I think in some curious way I always had that feeling without making any big bones about it. Whatever was going on around me, if it was extremely difficult or painful or tumultuous, and there was a lot of that in my life, I always felt that there was some quiet inner place where everything was all right. Just get there, sit down, and take a deep breath. I'm going to skip a little bit here and go on to where Lenore asks some questions of Maureen about Mu, which she had just been assigned. So she asks first, do you keep the koan in your mind? Maureen replies, the koan is filling up your whole body. And Lenore says, and the original question, does a dog have Buddha nature? That has nothing to do with it. In each koan there are important words, Mu and Buddha nature. That's where Mu, what Mu is, Buddha nature. So you are becoming filled up, completely becoming Mu. You are it, but you are coming to realize it, not thinking, what is Mu, what is Mu? No. Got it? Well, as much as I got it, says Lenore in response. But this point that she's making is it has to become questioning that happens with our whole being, whether we're doing Mu or what is this or who am I. Our whole body whole body, whole mind need to be involved. Well, I think we can stop there. Now our time's up in a minute or two, and we'll chant the 4 vows. All beings without number, I vow to liberate endless blind passions. I vow to uproot dharma gates beyond measure. I vow to penetrate the great way of Buddha. I vow to attain all beings without number. I vow to liberate endless blind passions. I vow to uproot dharma gates beyond measure. I vow to penetrate the great way of Buddha. I vow to attain all beings without number. I vow to liberate endless blind passions. I vow to uproot dharma gates beyond measure. I vow to penetrate the great way of Buddha. I vow to attain.